All right, so we're getting hopefully to the point where we agree on at least the top 15, and if not, at least we're getting the same players at some point. So, number 15 for me was Anthony Davis. So, moving up from number 20, I think obviously has a big reputation being injury prone, but actually strung together a nice section of the season. I believe when he returned from injury in about January/February, he maintained that on-court presence and it carried into the playoffs and was kind of indicative that when he's healthy or at least able to play, they make legitimate playoff pushes. So I'm going to hope that maybe they found something medically there or rehab wise to help him get a better regular season because that's going to be key to the Lakers being competitive again. Number 14, up from 22. I believe you've already mentioned him though, Jalen Brown. So, he is the second fiddle to Jason Tatum, but he could be a first fiddle on a different team. And, at the time of this recording, he's still yet to actually confirm his intentions properly for next season, which is interesting to say the least. But, you're talking about a guy that can average 25 points, been on that Eastern Conference juggernaut for many years. Definitely needs to be recognized for being a good top 25 player. Number 13, I did not plummet him as much as you did, but Ja Morant is appearing here, down from number 9. I think the on-court talent is just too strong. And obviously, I've made a bit of an exception for, players like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, players who maybe won't play full seasons because of injuries. Well, we know Ja Morant's not going to play a full season because of the 25-game suspension, but when he is going to play, he's going to be electric and he's going to be making the Grizzlies pretty relevant. So I feel like that's worthy of at least number 13. Number 12 is Damian Lillard. He is moving up from the 14th position. And he had a career year last year. Whether or not you cared about what Portland was doing, he did average a career high 32 points, had that 71-point explosion, and potentially is going to get traded. And perhaps my reasoning for him being number 12 is that anticipation of him being in a relevant scenario next year. And then number 11, huge jump from number 48 all the way to number 11. It is SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. 30-point average last season and has just gotten better every single season. OKC really knocking on the door with that play-in invitational. And now that Chet is there and the team's starting to round out a bit more with some continuity, obviously Jalen Williams in a sophomore season as well, Josh Giddey, into the third year, and then, having a couple of, auxiliary pieces there. I think OKC are going to be quite legitimate and I think really put SGA on the map. And that is my 15 through 11.
Well, you're right that we're going to see some familiar names now, right? It's all going to be about the order we have familiar names more often than not. So I guess let's jump into my number 15. Obviously, he was lower on your list a little bit, up from 54 last year to number 15 now. The lead guard here at Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox. I had Sabonis at 16. I spent a couple of minutes trying to figure out, do I put Fox or Sabonis? Yeah, I could have gone either way. I felt like I could have justified either way. At the end of the day, I went with Fox, at 15, Sabonis at 16. Obviously, look, I think the Kings have a bright, 5 years ahead of them if they can just stay healthy and, not go crazy with trading players or anything like that and just continuing to stay the course somewhat. So, now, number 14. Now, this is the part where I feel like we're gonna, you're gonna, I don't know, maybe you can give me some facts or something why I shouldn't have this player at 14. But anyway, I've got James Harden at 14, yeah, and down from 11. He was ranked 11 last year, and he had a 20-10 year. Yeah, he led the league in assists. Okay, sure, Philly flopped in the playoffs, but that's not all James Harden. Sure, he's got a career flopping sort of personality, but we're just rating him as a quality player here. And I think it was quite harsh that you dropped him all the way. No credit to you, gave him still top 25 to 25, okay? But I don't think his game has taken such a big step back. That's the point. I don't think his game has taken such a big step back. I think it's changed. I think it's evolved, okay, from James Harden that used to drop 30 a night, ISO James Harden, at the Rockets sort of thing. But he's still a 20-10 player, led the league in assists. That puts him number 14 on my list. At number 13, I got Anthony Davis. You had him at 15, I got him at 13. It was an interesting one here because probably similar to you. It was like, has he gotten better? And his stats sort of have determined that. Obviously, actually 2 more points, 3 more rebounds, from the season before. And more importantly, everyone sort of remembers LeBron coming back. Everyone remembers Austin Reeves having a great year and Rui doing some playoff Rui heroics in that first round and so on and so forth. And the Lakers overachieved after the Westbrook trade. But AD was the proponent of them getting to that point. When LeBron missed those games, obviously with his ankle injury, I think it was, that AD kept them afloat. All right. And it's probably it's credit to, like you said, the Lakers being able to try and get him on the floor and staying healthy. That look, I think AD is deserving of being in a top 15. I got him at number 13. At number 12, look at this. We agreed. Damian Lillard at number 12. Up from 14 to number 12, career year, up 2 spots. It almost feels like you look at his stats, you feel like surely this is a top 10 player, right? That was sort of what my thoughts when I was looking at the list of names in front of him, and I was like, can I make Damian Lillard? Should Damian Lillard be a top 10 player? But ultimately, I got 11 names in front of him. And look, he's obviously on the downside of his career. I don't know. My gut feeling here is that he's just not going to be able to back up the stats that he did this year. That was it. That was his career year. Whether he goes back to Portland, or stays in Portland, unhappily for however long that is, okay, or whether he doesn't dress and they just don't play him, or whether he gets traded and goes somewhere else and probably then becomes, option number 2 at that team, more likely than not. I just don't see him backing it up. So look, great year for him. Love the guy, all right. But look, 12 is where I've got him. Number 11, maybe you got something to say about this. I have Devin Booker. And yeah, look, I don't know, you didn't have Bradley Beal, right? You didn't have Bradley Beal on your top 15, did you? Yeah, sorry, top 25.
No, he wasn't in the
Yeah,
top 25.
yeah. You didn't have Bradley Beal in your top 25. And you justified that because his stats will be depressed because of the new makeup of the Phoenix Suns. And I think that's something that I felt I considered a little bit too. That KD, Bradley Beal arriving now in town, Booker is again not going to put up the stats. Great player, don't get me wrong, okay? And I got him at number 11, all right, but he's not going to put up the same stats as he used to, and he doesn't need to. They're probably going to win more games than they did with his stats being lower than what they were previous years, okay? And look, at the end of the day, you probably could put the same knock on Booker as you put on Harden to a certain extent at times in the playoffs. Doesn't show up, turns up, has come up to games and hasn't brought his A game. All right. And look, he's younger. Obviously, he's got time to change his narrative. He's now surrounded by Hall of Famer, cast around him. And I don't know. Look, I guess it'll be interesting to see where you've got him on your list. Not at number 2, surely. KD 1, Booker 2. What do you reckon on my list?
It's we'll wait and see when we get to the top 10, where I've got Devin Booker. We'll leave it at that. Look, we have the same names now in the top 25. Like none of those players is like I've snubbed or you snubbed. I do find the James Harden one quite interesting. I think obviously we're trying to project forward to what they will be like next year. So, Bradley Beal, I feel like next year won't be as impactful as James Harden will be to the respective team. But yeah, to have James Harden as high as you do, it is surprising. I think there was a little bit of an indictment of the fact that he wants a trade or doesn't want to trade. We're really not too sure what that angle is at this point. And we don't know where he will be finishing the season. If he finishes on Philly, then he gets some credibility because he's probably contributing to a top 3 seed and maybe they go again in the playoffs. Who knows? But if he goes elsewhere, what does that look like? I think he's a little bit of a wild card at this point. And we know that he can have 30 points and 5 assists or 20 points and 10 assists. But, those iterations of him haven't yielded the results that we want. And perhaps it's it's a lens thing. But I look at this and I say, do I want James Harden on my team over the other 24 guys that I listed in front of him? And that was a way that really shaped my thinking a little bit. So what you're saying is, if you were starting a team or if you were looking at a team right now, you would pick James Harden over both De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, right? Ignoring the fact that both of them have really had kind of breakout seasons or are really turning the Kings into a credible franchise. Do you feel like if you put James Harden on the Sacramento Kings, in lieu of those two players, that they have the same level of success that they did last season? And it's unfair to say it's
I would if I think you're now ranking different things. We're ranking the top 25 players, and like as always, there's a level of opinion on how you rank it. Sometimes we rank situations higher than others. Sometimes we rank winning or playoff performance or finals performances higher than others, and some players just don't have that sort of opportunity to play that way. You obviously said, I think, in the last five that you ranked, and I said, well, then Doncic isn't in your top 25, right? Because the Mavs didn't make the playoffs, so he shouldn't be rewarded in the top 25 because his team was not good enough. And I think again, it's a different thing, ultimately based upon what you're asking here. And I totally agree. You would not start a franchise around James Harden. You would pick someone like De'Aaron Fox. You had a choice between choosing De'Aaron Fox or James Harden to start your franchise right now. You choose De'Aaron Fox. He's younger. Okay, his upside is so much more. He's going to get 10 more years out of his career, whereas Harden has less than five. Okay, productive years probably left in his career. Okay, but then again, based upon that ranking list, LeBron and KD are probably lower on that list too, 5 or 10 spots lower. Okay, on this whole ranking list too, because you probably would go, there are other younger up and coming prospects that you would pick over them, despite the Hall of Famers that they are and the talent that then the production they still put out. And that's the key, the production they still put out. And Harden, I believe this year, and you sort of raised a great point, who knows where he'll land, okay? But I still think this year, wherever he goes, you would still expect him to play drop 20 and 10. I think he's still got another 20 and 10 season there. He could win another assist crown. I don't think that's too far-fetched.
Yeah, look, I think maybe frame it as if you were trying to compete for a championship next season, would you put him on there? And I think very similar to how we feel a little bit about LeBron catching Michael Jordan, right? Like the finals losses are too much against him. I feel like Harden's like legacy is, yeah, look, he's going to be a top 25, 50 player, pretty much every season. He's going to be reputable, he's going to sell jerseys, he's going to be notable. And then it's going to get to the playoffs and it's just not going to matter. And I know that this is sort of a regular season ranking, but I actually interpret it as going into next season, where is this player going up against everybody else? And, it's no spoiler to say that the previous NBA champion is going to be very high up on the list because he's going to, have a regular season that's worthy of mention. And then he's going to carry that effort into the playoffs. And I just think with James Harden, I just think there's a bit of fatigue about it, is that he's a little bit of an empty stats guy at this point. He's going to keep cementing his statistical career, for the Hall of Fame case, and he'll be a ballot Hall of Famer. But is he going to get back to another conference finals, right? I don't even need to hypothesize about is he going to win an NBA championship? Is he just going to make another conference finals anymore, right? Because he's actually, he's struggled to do that year in and year out. And every time it comes kind of crunch time of, hey, we have to close this team out or we have to stay alive here, it doesn't happen.
Oh, look, there's definitely reasons and a long enough track record why you can knock James Harden. Yeah, look, I don't know. I was bringing up some stats while you're obviously talking just then about two players. I'm gonna give you some stats. Okay, 26 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Okay, and it's in the player that's obviously you've put into your bracket. Okay, versus a player here that's got 26 points, 7 rebounds, about 4 assists a game, but no drama. And you've got the drama kid above Jaylen Brown. And I don't know, like you mentioned that you obviously have dropped Ja Morant and but not as far as me. Okay. But you've got Ja Morant over Jaylen Brown right now, despite their near identical stats. Okay. Ja Morant probably dishes out a few more assists, probably a virtue for simply as he's the lead player at his team. He's also the point guard at his team. Okay. Um, I don't know. I feel like you probably got Ja Morant ranked too high.
I think it's that what it means to a franchise, right? Ja Morant is definitely a troubled asset at this point and needs to have a bounce back season where he proves it. But what he means to Memphis is stronger than what James Harden's going to mean to Philadelphia next season or whoever he ends up on. That's how I interpret it. And that's, I guess, what's
No, I'm
really
talking
swayed
about
my list. And it's
so
why someone like Luca gets into the top 25 despite not having that
so
conventional success.
you're talking about impact though. So you're saying Jaylen Brown and Ja Morant. If you took Jaylen Brown out of the Celtics are no longer contenders. That's the reality. If you took him out, just like you took Ja Morant out of the Grizzlies, they're no longer contenders. Tatum isn't going to get the job done by himself.
That's to Okay. All right. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I would say that Jaylen Brown being removed from the Boston Celtics is not as detrimental as Ja Morant being removed from the Grizzlies. And we already saw this. We already saw that when he didn't play or was banged up, that the Grizzlies just don't have anything. I think Jason Tatum is talented enough to at least keep the Celtics competitive. Probably not win a championship, but let's be honest, with the two of them, they haven't won one anyway. So it's not that different. And I would say Joel Embiid's kind of proven that if he can stay healthy, he is a force to be reckoned with, and he will do enough to keep Philadelphia in it. James Harden didn't tip that scale, and James Harden did the same thing that he always does.
This is two guys with spare time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.